Welcome and thanks for joining us. Chief Lewis and I are excited to talk to you today about Prime Beef, which marked its 50th anniversary on October the 1st. Over the coming year, we will be celebrating 50 years of civil engineer excellence by honoring Prime Beef as well as Red Horse, which in turn observes its 50th anniversary in October of 2015. I invite you to join us on a journey that looks into the rich history of civil engineer contingency operations, beginning with this video and continuing with future stories of Air Force engineers over the decades. These two anniversaries give us the opportunity to highlight some of the tremendous contributions civil engineers make to the fight. The Prime Beef program has a remarkable history with an unusual beginning. When the Air Force was established in 1947, the Army was granted the responsibility of providing us with contingency engineering support. However, during the Korean War, Army forces discovered that they were undermanned and ill-prepared to provide the support so desperately needed. With this lesson learned, Congress tasked the Air Force with developing its own contingency engineering support capabilities.
The Air Force began employing mobile teams to respond to a series of international crises in the late 1950s and early 60s, and formalized this contingency capability with the creation of Prime Beef in 1964. Prime Beef's first deployments to Vietnam were so successful that dozens of other teams followed. Over the years, there have been deployments in support of the Cold War, Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, the Balkan conflicts, post 9/11 operations, and CONUS natural disaster response.
The initial Prime Beef team set a standard of excellence that ensured the future success of the Prime Beef program and paved the way for the Red Horse squadrons that activated in October of 1965. The rapid response and mobile team concept employed by Prime Beef, Red Horse, and other programs like Prime Ribs and EMEDS has withstood the test of time. The development of these programs was an important part of the Air Force building in-house capabilities in order to stand up on its own. It is an important part of aviation history.
As the Secretary of the Air Force and the Chief of Staff said in their memo honoring the anniversary, Prime Beef warriors have delivered superior agile combat support around the globe. What sets Prime Beef apart? It's the dedication and hard work of our men and women in the field and the training they receive through opportunities at AVCEC, AETC, Silver Flag sites, and home station training. Prime Beef is a key part of what makes Air Force CE the most requested engineer force by our joint partners, and it's one of many reasons that I'm glad to be part of this year-long celebration. In order to continue this tradition of excellence, I would like to encourage our senior NCOs, NCOs, and civilian workforce to continue to take part in these mission-essential training opportunities.
You can learn more about the legacy of Prime Beef and Red Horse in a book coming in November called Leading the Way: The History of Air Force Civil Engineers, the fall edition of the Civil Engineer magazine, and also in the series of CE videos that will be available over the course of the next year. However, this year is more than a commemoration of years past. It's also our way to say thank you to the Prime Beef and Red Horse engineers currently deployed throughout the world, and the support provided for our total force, military and civilians, active duty, Guard, and Reserve. In closing, I want you to know that your efforts to establish and carry on the tradition of contingency engineering are not forgotten. We will always be grateful to the men and women who stood before us or stand today ready to deploy on a moment's notice in response to disaster or conflict. Thank you for your service.